Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blaugrana Everything, and welcome to what is going to be something that I did not exactly plan. Because, see, this was supposed to be something like a little, short little pre match, kind of, talk heading into that Napoli game on Wednesday night. But as I was, planning all of that, and how I was going to, what I was going to talk about, who to look out for, what players are most likely to affect the game and decide it. I was, just scrolling through my Twitter feeds, looking for some inspiration, and I saw this tweet. This here from, for those of you who are not tuned into a video, I guess I'll probably just say what the tweet is a tweet from Barca Buzz, which is one of the accounts that I follow on X. And basically, it was just the announcement that Barcelona's salary limit has been decreased from the 270 million that they were working with this past summer to 204 million. That's right, 204 from 270, which for me I felt was really crazy. And just, we're just going to get straight into it because I have a lot of answers here, okay? Because I have a lot of questions here, not answers. I have a lot of questions that demand answers. Because, for instance, last season, La Liga was very, vocal in announcing that Barcelona's wage bill was going to be cut because Barcelona had promised things like Champions League knockout football up to the quarterfinals, and none of that came through. And that's how Barcelona's limit dropped to the current 270 that they were working with. This time around, though, they're in the Champions League knockouts, right? They're like right about to play their first knockout round tie against Napoli, just tomorrow. And despite that, what they are telling me is that despite the fact that Barca is still in the Champions League, they're in the knockouts, despite that, they're going to get a lower salary limit than last season when they were in the Europa League. And mind you, last season Barcelona didn't record any of the kind of income that they did, this coming into this season, going into last season. There was no money from winning La Liga. There was no money from winning the Supercopa. All of that, though, was there coming into this season. And despite all of that, and despite the fact that the Champions League thing is still there, it hasn't done anything apparently. It doesn't add up in any way. All it does is subtract. And now that salary cap has shrunk even more. Losing that 64 million, that's going to hurt a lot, especially with guys like Lewandowski and Frankie de Jong on the wages that they're on. I guess, it's probably a hint that one of these guys, if not both, are probably going to have to leave now at the end of this summer because Barcelona are going to be, grasping at every straw that they can just to get that salary cap increased, or to at least get to a place where they have that 1-to-1 ratio, that golden ratio, which allows you to spend as much as you make. So honestly speaking, it would be nice if La Liga could, for once, give an explanation, but we all know that's never going to happen as long as Javier Tebas is, still in his position. The only kind of announcements we get from La Liga are going to be when Kylian Mbappe will be signing for Real Madrid, and when the next big signing Real Madrid makes is going to be, and how Barcelona probably are going to have to sell one of their top players, somebody like Frankie de Jong, like I mentioned earlier, who can bring in big money but will also take big money off of the wage bill. So unless Frankie is willing to renegotiate his contract, I really do think this could be the final season that we see of him here. And it's a shame because he's been one of our better players this season. And I know some people don't want to hear that or to accept it, which is fine. I expect that from goalies. They never appreciate a player or a manager or whoever until they leave. So that's probably going to be the case again with De Jong. They'll be looking at him wondering why he couldn't have played that well for Barca, forgetting just how much of a dumpster fire this team has been for the past 3 years. But yeah, I guess until we get answers there, I was thinking of doing a make it make sense kind of video, but then I just realized it's not possible to make any of this make sense because none of it is consistent with what La Liga first told us is the criteria for calculating that salary cap. So I guess we just have to deal with the fact that every year La Liga is just going to come and announce an even lower salary limit, and Barca are going to have to, just survive or figure out a way to work around that. And with the fact that they're going to be bringing in a new manager, that lower wage bill, it's really, really going to bite, because now it's really putting a limit on who Barcelona can hire. It was bad enough that, many managers wouldn't have been willing to take the kind of salary that Xavi is on, but now even that might be off the table. Anyway, it's Napoli tomorrow night. We should probably talk about that for a little bit. And to be quite honest, separating all this drama from everything that's been happening, there's really a lot of similarities between Barca and Napoli this season. Both won their leagues with relative ease, you could say, at least a 10-point cushion that they had at the top of the tables. But this season, neither of them have mounted anything that looks like a title defense. Napoli, of course, have been the worst. They're sitting in 9th, for example, right now in Serie A. Couldn't imagine Barca sitting in 9th. I mean, sure, of course, Xavi took over Barcelona when they were sitting in 9th. But, we don't dwell on that memory. And on the balance of how things have been going recently, you'd think, Barcelona should have the upper hand. But then you hear that Napoli sacked the manager like literally 48 hours before this big match against Barca. And it just tells you that they're taking this game seriously. They mean business. They want to win this game. And that's really when this team has always looked the most suspect. When they face a team that wants to win the game maybe more than they do. And when that team starts to, push them back and starts to get in their faces. And sure, they have more fight in them. They do come back. It's a pretty common theme from Barca this season. I think I heard a stat somewhere, something like 12 or 13 of the points that Barcelona has right now in La Liga are points that they won within the last 10 minutes or, in injury time. And that's a pretty good statistic. They're probably going to need that ability to come back with the way that they have been defending. But then you just think, if Napoli put on a solid display, especially defensively, something which they haven't been as bad at as Barca defending. That is, if Napoli can put up something that's even half as good as what they've done so far, then, this could probably end in an L for Barca. Just because, like I said, Napoli are going to want this more. There's going to be that new manager bounce. There's going to be a lot of emotion. It's going to be a charged atmosphere, okay? And Diego Armando Maradona Stadium can be one of those venues like Anfield where, if the crowd gets behind the team, they can make you sweat. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see how all of that goes. It's like we'll have to wait and see how all this nonsense regarding salary limits goes. But aside from all of that, thank you all for tuning in. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments and all this stuff. What are you expecting for Barca coming up against Napoli and, on those salary limits? What are your thoughts? Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day and Forza Barca.